The stars were cold and endless, shining across the black sea of space. A ship drifted slowly among them, silent, broken, forgotten. It was massive, with long metal arms and sharp edges, like a giant beast sleeping in the dark. No signal came from it, no lights, no movement, nothing. It looked like a grave, a tomb floating between the stars. Inside the ship, deep in its hollow corridors, there was a room that still held power. In the center of the room stood a cage made of glass, tall and shining. Strange lines glowed faintly across its surface, symbols of an alien language. Inside the cage was a figure, a woman, but not human. Her skin shimmered with silver light. Her hair floated like soft strands of fire. Her eyes were large and filled with a strange glow, half fear, half hope. She sat curled inside the cage, weak, alone, and silent. No voice, no sound, only her eyes told the story of her pain. Far away, a human salvage ship was moving toward the drifting vessel. Its scanners had picked up the dead ship, and the crew came to see what they could find. For them, an abandoned alien ship meant treasure, rare technology, things they could sell for a fortune. The leader of the salvage crew laughed as the ship docked with the silent vessel. "Easy money," he said. "This place is empty, no danger, only prizes waiting for us." The crew entered with heavy lights and metal boots, their voices echoing in the hollow halls. They saw broken panels, twisted wires, and the silence of death. But one man among them, a young human named Elias, felt something different. As they walked through the corridors, he felt a strange pull, a call that whispered in his mind. It was not a voice, not words, only a feeling that told him to keep moving forward. While the others searched for parts and machines, Elias drifted toward the source of the pull. His light cut through the dust, and finally, he reached the chamber with the cage. When he saw her, he froze. For a long moment, he only stared, his breath caught in his chest. A living being, trapped inside glass, her body weak but her eyes alive. The cage glowed faintly, symbols shifting and moving like liquid across its surface. The alien woman lifted her head slowly and looked at him. Her gaze locked with his, and in that silent meeting, Elias felt her fear and her hope. It was as if her soul was screaming, begging him not to turn away. "Elias, report." The leader's voice crackled through his calm, but Elias did not answer. He took one step closer, his heart beating fast. The woman pressed her hand weakly against the glass, her palm glowing with faint light. The cage shimmered and hummed as if it recognized his presence. The symbols changed shape, forming lines that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. The rest of the crew arrived a moment later, and when they saw the cage, they cursed. "What is that?" one asked. "An alien," the leader said, his tone sharp. "And dangerous. Look at that cage. It was built to hold something strong, something deadly." He pulled Elias back. "Stay away. This is not for us. We came for tech, not trouble." But Elias could not stop staring at her. She was not a monster, not a weapon. She was alive, and she was afraid. The leader ordered everyone out. "Mark this room. We'll call in the military. They'll know what to do." But deep inside, Elias felt something burning, a voice inside him saying that leaving her behind was wrong. The crew turned to leave, but Elias stayed for a moment longer. The alien woman pressed her face against the glass, her glowing eyes locked onto his. In that silent moment, he felt her pain as if it were his own, and he made a choice, a dangerous choice, a choice that would change everything. As the crew's footsteps faded into the distance, Elias whispered softly, "I'll come back for you." The cage hummed louder, the symbols glowing brighter, almost as if it had heard his promise. The alien woman closed her eyes, and a tear of silver light rolled down her cheek. Elias turned away, but his heart stayed in that room, with her. The ship remained silent, but the air was heavy with secrets. The cage was more than a prison, it was a warning. And by stepping close, Elias had already broken the first rule. He had noticed her, he had cared, and that was the beginning of everything. The silent prison waited, holding its secrets, holding its prisoner, and far beyond the stars, forces were already moving. For the moment Elias promised to return, the game of fate had begun, and nothing, not even the endless silence of space, could stop what was coming. The salvage crew returned to their ship carrying crates of alien metal and broken devices. Their leader was pleased. Their mission was already a success, and he wanted no delays. But Elias sat in silence, his mind trapped in the memory of the alien woman's eyes. He could still see her weak hand pressed against the glass, her silent cry for freedom. The others laughed, joked, and talked about their profits, but Elias heard none of it. Something deep inside him whispered again and again, "She needs you." The leader noticed his quiet face. "Forget her, Elias. Whatever that thing is, it's not our problem. We leave it to the military. We don't play hero." The others nodded quickly. "Yeah, who knows what she is? Maybe she killed her own crew. Maybe that cage is the only thing stopping her from tearing us apart." But Elias shook his head slowly. "No, she didn't look like a killer. She looked like a prisoner. His words were met with laughter, rough and cruel. Prisoner or predator, what's the difference, boy? Do you want to die? For an alien? The leader gave strict orders. We finish loading, we leave in 2 hours, no more wandering, and stay out of that chamber, Elias. That's an order. But orders could not stop the fire burning inside him. When the others returned to their work, Elias slipped away, his steps silent, his heart racing. He moved through the dark corridors of the alien ship, the air heavy with dust and old secrets. He felt the pull again, the invisible thread that guided him back to her cage. The chamber was the same, silent and glowing faintly. The alien woman was still there, her body weak, her face pale with exhaustion. When she saw him, her eyes lit with sudden life, as if hope had returned with his presence. Elias stepped closer, ignoring the warnings echoing in his head. The cage shimmered when he neared, its strange symbols shifting and pulsing faster. It was as if the glass itself recognized him, responding to his heartbeat and his breath. He reached out his hand, and for a moment, he stopped. The warnings of his leader filled his thoughts. She could be dangerous, she could be lying. That cage was built for a reason. But then he remembered the silver tear that rolled down her cheek, the way her eyes begged him without words. He placed his palm gently against the glass. The alien woman lifted her weak hand and pressed it against his, only a thin layer of glowing glass between them. The moment their hands aligned, a spark of light passed through the cage. Elias gasped as a flood of images rushed into his mind. He saw her world, bright skies with twin suns, great cities of crystal and light, her people proud and beautiful. Then he saw the betrayal, her people turning on her, binding her in chains of fire, sealing her inside the cage that fed on her life. Pain, fear, loneliness, centuries of silence, all of it entered his heart in a single breath. He staggered back, his chest heaving, his eyes wide. The alien woman pressed closer to the glass, whispering a sound, her voice broken and soft. It was not clear, but he understood the meaning. Help. Elias's throat went dry. The cage hummed louder, glowing brighter as if feeding on the bond between them. He reached again, pressing his hand harder, feeling the warmth of her energy even through the barrier. His mind screamed at him to stop, but his heart told him the truth. She was not the monster. She was the victim. Suddenly the chamber lights flickered. Alarms echoed faintly through the corridors. The rest of the crew had noticed the power spike. Elias! The leader's voice roared through the comm. Step away from the cage now. You'll get us all killed. Heavy footsteps echoed from behind. The crew was coming, weapons in hand. But Elias stayed where he was, unable to break the silent connection. The leader stormed into the room, his face hard with anger. What did I tell you, boy? That thing is a trap. Look at the cage. It reacts to you. You don't even know what it's doing. Elias turned to him, his voice firm. She's not a trap. She's alive and she's suffering. We can't leave her here to die. The leader laughed harshly. You think she suffers? She's bait. She's poison. You're letting her crawl into your head. The crew raised their weapons, aiming at the cage as if ready to shoot. The alien woman's eyes widened with fear, her weak voice breaking. No, please. Elias stood between them and the cage, spreading his arms. Don't touch her. The leader cursed. You've lost your mind, Elias. She's not your problem. The cage pulsed with brighter light, the symbols glowing like fire. Elias felt the energy rising as if the cage itself was angry. The floor shook faintly, though. The walls groaned and the glass shimmered like liquid. The leader pulled his men back, shouting, Enough! We leave now! They retreated, dragging their crates, leaving Elias alone once more in the chamber. The alien woman slumped weakly against the glass, her eyes fixed on him. He knelt close, whispering softly, I don't know how, but I'll find a way to free you. Her lips curved into the faintest smile, her eyes shining with both hope and fear. Elias knew he had crossed the line. There was no going back. The cage had touched him as much as he had touched it, and somewhere deep in the shadows of the ship, something had awakened. The forbidden touch had been made, and with it, the fate of both human and alien worlds had begun to twist together. The abandoned alien ship floated silently, but inside something had already begun to stir. The glass cage was no longer calm. Its glowing symbols shifted and twisted, reacting to Elias's touch. Each time he came near, the cage pulsed with brighter light, as if alive, as if it could feel his presence. The alien woman inside looked at him with eyes full of hope, though her body was still weak, drained by years of captivity. Elias felt the weight of her silent plea pressing deep into his heart, and he knew he could not walk away. The salvage crew had returned to their ship, leaving him behind to watch the chamber. But he knew the truth. They wanted him far from the cargo. They no longer trusted him. They whispered that he had fallen under the alien's spell, that he was no longer thinking like a human, but Elias did not care. His mind was clear, his choice was already made. He would not abandon her, not to the cage, not to death. He circled the cage, studying the strange glass. It was smooth, shining, but he felt it was not simple material. It breathed like skin, it pulsed like a heart. The glowing symbols changed whenever his shadow fell across them, as though they could sense him. He pressed his palm once again to the surface, and the symbols blazed with sharp light. He felt energy flowing into his hand, hot and alive, filling him with visions once more. This time, the visions were darker. He saw the alien woman chained, her people surrounding her, their faces cold and merciless. He saw them speaking words he could not understand, yet the meaning was clear. They were condemning her. The cage was built not just to trap, but to feed, draining her life slowly, using her energy to power the ship. Elias stumbled back, horrified, his chest tight with rage. She was not a prisoner of war, she was a sacrifice. The alien woman raised her hand, her fingers trembling as she pointed at the glowing symbols. Her voice was weak, but he could finally hear it clearer. Break. Cage. Elias's breath caught. But how? He whispered. Her glowing eyes locked onto his, and he understood without words. The cage reacted to him, not the others. Only he could destroy it. The ship groaned suddenly, metal grinding in the distance, as if it knew his thoughts. The walls shook lightly, dust falling from the ceiling. The cage's glow grew harsher, warning him, threatening him. It was alive. It wanted to keep her. It would not let go easily. Elias looked at the alien woman again, at her weak smile, her desperate hope. He clenched his fists, his decision sharp as a blade. Then I'll break it. He searched the chamber, finding a broken piece of alien metal, sharp at one end, heavy at the other. He gripped it tightly, his knuckles white, his heart pounding louder than the hum of the cage. He stepped forward and slammed the metal against the glass. A bright spark burst out, throwing him back a few steps. The cage hummed angrily, its symbols glowing red, and the alien woman cried out weakly. Elias coughed, forcing himself to stand. I won't stop, he growled. He struck again, harder this time, the metal ringing as if striking a living creature. The glass cracked faint. A single thin line spreading across its surface. The ship roared as if in pain, alarms blaring through the halls. The salvage crew heard it and shouted over the comms. Elias, what did you do? Stop it now. But Elias ignored them. His focus was only on her, only on freedom. He swung again and again, each strike louder, the cracks spreading wider across the glowing surface. The cage screamed with energy, sparks flying out, the air thick with burning light. But Elias pushed through the pain, sweat on his face, determination in his eyes. Finally, with one last desperate strike, the glass shattered. The sound was not like breaking stone or metal, it was like breaking lightning, a sharp cry that echoed through the ship. The cage exploded in a storm of light, shards flying in every direction, vanishing before they touched the floor. The alien woman collapsed forward, free at last, her body falling into Elias's arms. He held her, shocked by how light she was, how weak, her skin glowing faintly with fragile energy. Her lips moved softly, whispering one word, free. But freedom came with a price. The ship's silent systems roared awake, lights blazing in the corridors, doors slamming shut, alarms screaming like angry voices. The entire vessel trembled as if alive, as if furious at what Elias had done. The salvage crew shouted over the comms. Elias, get out, the ship is waking up, it's sealing us inside. The ground shook beneath his feet, metal twisting and groaning, drones powering up in the distance. The prison had been broken, but the prison keeper was still alive. Elias carried the alien woman, holding her close as the chamber shook apart. He whispered urgently, stay with me, I'll get you out. Her glowing eyes opened faintly, looking into his, a single tear of silver sliding down her cheek. She pressed a weak hand against his chest, whispering again, run. The ship screamed louder, its corridors shifting like a maze, sealing exits, preparing to fight. Elias tightened his grip, his heart burning with both fear and courage. He had broken the cage, he had freed her, but now the real battle had only begun. The alien ship roared to life, its dead halls now glowing with angry red light. Doors slammed shut one by one, the air filled with the sound of grinding metal and rushing energy. Elias staggered forward, holding the alien woman in his arms, her body weak but her eyes still glowing faintly. The shattered cage was gone, but its power had spread through the ship like fire, awakening things that should have stayed asleep. Over the comms, the salvage leader shouted in panic, Elias, what did you do? The whole ship is alive again. It's closing us in. We'll be crushed if we don't get out. Elias ignored him, his breath heavy, his heart pounding. His only thought was to protect her. She pressed her hand weakly against his chest and whispered again, run. Her voice was soft, but it cut through the chaos like a blade. giving him strength. The corridor shook violently, lights flickering, and from the walls, small machines broke free. They were drones, round and sharp, with glowing red eyes and long arms made of metal. They buzzed to life, spinning blades and crackling weapons pointing toward Elias. The first drone shot forward, but Elias swung the heavy piece of alien metal still in his hand, smashing it to the ground in a shower of sparks. Another came from above, diving with deadly speed, but the alien woman lifted her hand weakly and a spark of silver light burst from her palm, knocking it aside. The light faded instantly, and she collapsed back into Elias's arms, drained. He looked down at her in shock. "You saved me," he whispered. Her eyes flickered, glowing faintly, and she managed a weak smile. The ship groaned, walls shifting as if the entire structure was a living beast. Passages closed behind them, opening new ones ahead, twisting into a maze. It was not random. The ship was guiding the RS-M, pushing them deeper inside, not toward freedom but toward the heart of the trap. Elias realized the truth. The cage had been more than a prison. It had been the lock on the ship itself. By breaking it, he had unleashed the ship's fury, and now it wanted her back. Through the comms, the leader shouted again, "Elias, answer me! Where are you?" Elias finally spoke, his voice sharp. "I freed her. She's alive. She's not the enemy." The leader's voice turned cold. "You fool! You doomed us all. That alien is dangerous. You've cursed every one of us." Elias clenched his jaw, his anger rising. "She's not dangerous. She's dying, and I won't let her suffer." The comm went silent, but he knew the crew would not wait for him. They would leave if they had to. Elias pushed forward, smashing drones when they came, carrying her with every ounce of strength. The corridors grew darker, the lights turning from red to deep blue, shadows stretching like claws across the walls. He felt the air thicken, heavy with energy, and the alien woman stirred faintly in his arms, her glowing eyes focusing on the path ahead. She whispered one word, "Core." Elias frowned. "Core? What's in the core?" Her voice trembled. "Ship's heart, cage's power, destroy it. Escape." His mind raced. He understood. The cage had been tied to the ship's living systems, and now that it was broken, the core was unstable. If he destroyed the core, the ship would lose its power, its grip would weaken, and maybe, just maybe, they could escape. But reaching the core meant moving deeper into the danger, deeper into the very trap the ship was leading them toward. He looked at her, her weak smile shining in the flicker of blue light, and he nodded. "Then we'll reach it together." The path grew tighter, narrower, the walls pressing close as if trying to crush them. Drones flew out of hidden holes, swarming like angry insects. Their red eyes glowing brighter, Elias fought them with fury, his arms burning with pain, his body covered in cuts, but he refused to stop. Each time he staggered, the alien woman raised her trembling hand, sending small bursts of silver light to shield him, even when it drained her to near collapse. Their bond was growing, a connection that was more than human and alien. It was survival. It was trust. At last they reached a great chamber, vast and dark, with a glowing sphere in the center. The sphere pulsed with blue fire, lightning arcing across its surface, the heart of the ship, the core. Around it floated larger drones, guardians with sharp limbs and heavy weapons. Elias set her down gently against the wall, his breath heavy. "Stay here, I'll finish this." She caught his arm with weak fingers, whispering, "Together." He looked into her glowing eyes, and for a moment, he felt her strength pass into him, a silent promise. He charged forward, swinging the alien metal with all his power, striking one drone and shattering it in sparks. Another lunged, but the alien woman's silver light burst outward, knocking it into the core where it exploded in fire. The guardians swarmed, the battle fierce, the air filled with the sound of metal breaking and lightning crashing. Elias fought like a storm, every strike fueled by his burning will to protect her, to free her. The alien woman fought beside him, weak but fierce, her light guiding his path. Finally, Elias reached the core, his body trembling, his arms numb. He raised the alien metal high and slammed it down with a roar. The core screamed, light exploding outward, the chamber shaking like the end of the world. The drones froze, collapsing lifeless to the floor. The walls shuddered, the ship's power dying in a storm of sparks. Elias fell to his knees, gasping, the alien woman crawling weakly to his side. The silence returned, heavy but calm, the ship broken once more. She looked at him, her hand resting gently on his, whispering, "Free, together." He smiled. It faintly, blood on his face, sweat in his eyes. "We're not done yet. We still have to escape." Behind them, the corridor slowly began to collapse, the dead ship falling apart without its core. Their fight was not finished. Their journey had only begun. But in that moment, they were no longer prisoner and rescuer. They were allies, bound by trust, and together they would face the storm. The ship's core was shattered, its power dying in sparks and smoke, but the danger was far from over. The walls groaned and split, the floors shook with violent tremors, and fire raced through broken pipes. Elias pulled the alien woman close, her body weak but her eyes alert, glowing faintly in the chaos. The prison was gone, the heart of the ship destroyed, but the ship itself was collapsing, trying to bury them alive. Through the calm, the salvage leader's voice returned, sharp with fear. "Elias, the ship is breaking apart. Get to the docking bay now. We're leaving in minutes." Elias staggered forward, holding her tightly, his voice ragged. "Wait for us, don't leave." The calm went silent, and in that silence, Elias felt the truth. The crew was preparing to leave without him. They had given up on him. They saw the alien woman as a curse, and they would not risk their own lives for her. The alien woman looked into his eyes, her lips trembling as she whispered, "They fear me." Elias shook his head fiercely. "No, they don't understand you, but I do, and I'm not leaving you behind." She pressed her glowing hand against his cheek, her eyes soft with gratitude, but the ship roared again, tearing metal falling all around them, forcing him to move. They ran through twisting corridors, walls shifting like a living maze, doors slamming shut before them, opening again as if mocking their escape. Drones still lurked in the shadows, broken but not dead. Sparks of red light glowing in their cracked eyes. One leapt forward, crawling like a spider, blades spinning with fury. Elias swung the alien metal, smashing it into the wall with a burst of fire. Another came from behind. But the alien woman raised her hand weakly, releasing a silver wave of light that pushed it back into darkness. Her energy was fading, but her will to survive burned brighter than the fire around them. The chase grew harder, the ship groaning like a dying beast. But then the worst came. From the broken ceiling, massive shapes dropped down, larger drones with heavy armor, their bodies glowing with the last fire of the ship's core. They were hunters, built not to guard but to capture, their sharp arms reaching for her, ignoring Elias as if he were nothing more than dust. She screamed, her voice breaking, and Elias roared back, swinging his weapon wildly, striking sparks against their armor. But the hunters did not fall. Their strength was endless, their focus only on the alien woman. Elias realized the truth. The ship did not care about him. It wanted her back. It would destroy anything that stood in its way. The hunters closed in, surrounding them, red eyes burning with cold purpose. Elias pressed her against the wall, shielding her with his own body, his voice fierce. "You won't take her." One hunter struck, its blade slashing across his arm, blood dripping down his sleeve, but Elias did not move. He stood like a wall before her, the alien woman's eyes filled with tears of silver, her hand glowing faintly as she whispered, "No, not you." Her power burst suddenly, stronger than before, a surge of silver light exploding outward. The hunters froze. Their limbs shaking, sparks flying from their eyes, their armor cracking under the force. Elias stared in awe as she stood, weak but unyielding, her body trembling with the effort. She shouted in her own language, a cry of defiance, and the hunters shattered, their pieces scattering across the burning floor. The ship screamed louder, as if her power had stabbed its very heart. The corridor walls twisted violently, tearing open to reveal the stars outside, black and endless. Elias pulled her close again, shouting over the storm of metal. "The docking bay! Where is it?" She pointed weakly, her glowing hand guiding him down a path of flickering lights. They ran together, stumbling through fire and falling beams, the ship collapsing piece by piece. At last, they saw the bay doors ahead, the faint outline of the salvage ship waiting beyond, its engines glowing with readiness. But before they could reach it, the bay filled with new shadows, not drones, not machines, but figures. Tall, armored, alien soldiers, their faces hidden behind black masks, their weapons glowing with deadly fire. They had come for her, drawn by the breaking of the cage, the shattering of the prison. The alien woman froze in Elias's arms, her eyes wide with terror, her voice shaking. "My people!" Elias tightened his grip on the alien metal weapon, his voice low and steady. "Then we fight." The soldiers advanced slowly, their weapons raised, their voices cold as they spoke words Elias could not understand. But he understood their meaning. They wanted her back. They would kill him to get her. The salvage crew appeared at the far side of the bay, their leader shouting, "Elias, leave her! Come now!" The crew aimed their weapons at the alien soldiers, but their eyes were full of fear, their hands trembling. Elias looked from them to her, his heart torn, but the choice was already made. He would not abandon her, not now, not ever. The first shot rang out, fire streaking across the bay. The battle began. Elias held her close, his weapon ready, his heart burning with unshakable resolve. The chase was no longer through the ship's corridors. It was here, in the open, against her own kind. And as the storm of battle raged, Elias knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy itself would soon learn what happens when one human chooses mercy over fear. Blazing fire lit the docking bay. Human weapons clashed with alien fire, the air heavy with smoke and sparks. Elias fought with every ounce of strength, striking down armored soldiers while shielding the alien woman behind him. She was too weak to stand for long, her glow faint, her body trembling from both fear and exhaustion. Yet her eyes stayed fixed on him, filled with both sorrow and determination. The salvage crew shouted orders, their leader's voice raw with panic. "Fall back, we can't win this fight, Elias, get on the ship now." But Elias refused. He stood his ground, his blade of alien metal clashing with weapons built to kill. Each strike rattled his bones, each swing left his arms numb, but he held on, because behind him was not just an alien, but a life worth saving, a soul worth protecting. The alien soldiers closed in, their masked faces unreadable, their voices cold and sharp. They spoke words Elias did not know, but he understood their meaning from their movements. They were not here to kill her. They were here to take her alive, to drag her back into chains, and that thought filled him with more fury than fear. One soldier lunged, his blade cutting close, but before it could strike, a sudden wave of silver light burst out. The alien woman had raised her hand, her glow returning in a sudden rush, her power surging despite her weakness. The soldier was thrown back, crashing into the wall, his weapon shattering in sparks. The others froze, their masks turning toward her as if staring in disbelief. She stepped forward slowly, her legs trembling, her voice breaking but clear. "Enough." The soul. Dyers spoke again in their language, their tone full of rage, but this time, Elias heard a whisper in his mind, her voice flowing into his thoughts. "You want the truth," she whispered to him silently. "You deserve it." Her glow wrapped around him like a soft light, and suddenly visions filled his mind. He saw her world again, bright skies under twin suns, cities of crystal and towers of silver, her people strong and proud. She had been one of them, not just another citizen, but a protector, a guardian of peace. Her duty had been to keep the balance between her people and the stars, to stop war before it began. But then came the council, rulers filled with ambition, who saw humans not as equals but as prey. They built weapons of great power, ships of destruction preparing to invade. She had stood against them. She had begged for mercy, for peace. She had warned them that war would destroy not only humans but themselves. And for her defiance, they called her a traitor. Elias gasped as he saw the memory, her own people binding her in chains of burning light, her cries echoing through the halls of judgment, their faces cold, their voices merciless. They locked her in the glass cage, a prison that fed on her life, draining her slowly. They left her on the ship as bait, hoping humans would find her, hoping fear would turn humans into enemies before the war even began. The visions ended, and Elias staggered, his chest heavy, his throat tight. He looked at her, his voice low. "They betrayed you." Her eyes filled with silver tears, her whisper soft. "Yes, and now they want me back, to finish what they started." The alien soldiers advanced again, their weapons glowing, their voices hard. They spoke words that Elias could not understand, but she translated softly. "They say I belong to them. They say I am theirs to break." Elias stepped in front of her again, his voice fied. "You don't belong to them, not anymore." The soldiers raised their weapons, anger burning in their movements, but Elias did not flinch. The salvage leader shouted from the ship, "Elias, stop this madness. She is their problem, not ours." But Elias turned his head, his voice sharp as steel. "She fought for us before we even knew it. She chose peace when they chose war. She is not their problem. She is ours." The crew fell silent, their fear heavy, their doubt stronger than their courage. But Elias knew the truth now, and there was no turning back. The alien woman stepped forward again, her glow brighter now, her strength returning piece by piece. She spoke loudly in her own language, her voice echoing through the bay, defying the soldiers before her. They shouted back, fury in their tone, but she did not stop, her glow spreading across the walls like silver fire. Elias felt the weight of her words in his chest, even if he could not understand them all. She was declaring her freedom, declaring that she would not return to chains. The soldiers attacked, but she and Elias fought together. Her silver light clashed with their weapons. His blade struck with unyielding force. The bay became a storm of sparks and fire, the clash of war echoing through the dying ship. And in that storm, the truth became clear. She was not a prisoner to be feared. She was a protector betrayed by her own, and now humanity was her last hope. At last, the surviving soldiers fell back, retreating through the broken doors, their voices promising vengeance. The bay grew silent. Only the crackle of fire and the heavy breaths of the wounded remained. Elias lowered his weapon, his body trembling with exhaustion. The alien woman touched his shoulder, her glow soft again, her voice quiet. Now you know. Now you see why they hate me, why they fear me. Elias met her eyes, his voice steady. And now I know why I'll never let them take you. The crew stared at him in silence, torn between fear and awe. The leader muttered bitterly, You're risking everything for her, Elias. Elias looked at the alien woman, then back at them, his voice calm but strong. No, I'm saving everything because of her. The battle was not over, the war was not yet begun, but the truth had been revealed, and with that truth the choice for humanity was clear, to fear her or to stand beside her. The docking bay was broken and burning, the floor scattered with metal wreckage, sparks falling like rain. The alien soldiers had retreated, but their promise of vengeance still echoed in the silence. Elias stood tall, his body weak and wounded, but his spirit burning brighter than ever. Beside him, the alien woman stood glowing faintly, her silver light soft but unyielding. The salvage crew watched from the edge of their ship, their faces pale, their eyes full of doubt and fear. Their leader stepped forward, his voice sharp. Elias, this ends now. We cannot take her. She is too dangerous. She will bring war down on all of us. Elias met his gaze, his voice calm but steady. War is already coming, with or without her. But with her, we might stand a chance. The crew murmured, fear battling with reason, none of them brave enough to decide. Then the shadows deepened, the bay shaking violently as new engines thundered outside. Through the cracked walls of the dying ship, they saw alien warships descending, massive vessels glowing with deadly fire. The soldiers had not retreated in defeat. They had called reinforcements. The air trembled with their power. The stars outside darkened under their shadow. The alien woman's eyes filled with sorrow, her voice soft. They will not stop. They will burn your world to dust. They will chain your people as they chained me. Elias clenched his fists, his anger sharp. Then we fight, and we fight together. The salvage leader shook his head. You're mad, Elias. Humans cannot fight them. Look at their ships. Look at their power. Elias pointed to the alien woman, his voice rising. She is their power, and she chose us. She is proof that they can be stopped. The bay shook again as enemy soldiers poured in, dozens this time, their armor black, their weapons glowing red. The crew raised their rifles, their hands shaking, their eyes wide, but Elias stepped forward, his blade of alien metal in hand. The alien woman stood beside him, her glow brighter now, her strength returning as if fueled by his courage. She whispered to him, her voice steady, "Together." And he nodded, "Together." The battle exploded, fire and light crashing across the bay, humans and aliens fighting side by side. The crew, once afraid, now followed Elias, their rifles spitting fire, their courage growing as they saw the alien woman strike with silver light. She moved like a storm, her glow spreading across the bay, her power tearing through the enemy's ranks, and every time she faltered, Elias was there, his blade cutting, his body shielding hers, their bond unbreakable. The enemy pushed harder, their warships firing outside, shaking the ship apart piece by piece. But inside the bay, something had changed. Humans who once saw her as a threat now fought for her, defending her as she defended them. For the first time, she was not alone, and for the first time, they were not afraid. The alien leader entered the bay, towering, his armor burning with crimson fire, his voice booming like thunder. He spoke in his language, sharp and cruel, and the alien woman translated with trembling lips. He says you are fools. He says you trust mercy where fear should rule. Elias stepped forward, his voice strong. Then he has never been human. The leader laughed coldly, raising his weapon to strike, but before he could, the alien woman unleashed her full power. Her silver light exploded like a sun, filling the bay, crashing into the leader with unstoppable force. His armor cracked, his weapon shattered, his body thrown to the ground in defeat. The enemy soldiers froze, a fear spreading through their ranks for the first time. The alien woman stood tall, her voice echoing, "I will not be your prisoner. I will not be your weapon. I choose my own path." Elias placed his hand on her shoulder, his voice steady. "And humanity chooses with you." The crew cheered weakly, their fear broken, their hearts lifted by the sight of victory. The alien soldiers retreated once more, dragging their broken leader away, their warships pulling back into the dark. The bay fell silent. Only the crackle of fire and the breath of the survivors remained. The alien woman turned to Elias, her silver eyes shining. "You risked everything. Why?" He smiled faintly, his voice gentle. "Because only humans choose mercy when others choose fear." Her eyes filled with tears of light, and for the first time she felt truly free, not because her cage was broken, but because she was no longer alone. The salvage leader stepped forward, his voice softer now. "Elias, what do we do with her?" Elias looked at the alien woman, then at his people, his voice calm but certain. "We don't do anything to her. We stand with her. We protect her because if we don't, no one will." The crew nodded slowly, their doubt turning into resolve. And for the first time, humanity had chosen not fear, not chains, but trust. The broken ship burned around them, but hope burned brighter in their hearts. The alien woman looked out at the stars, her voice soft but firm. "This is only the beginning. My people will return. The war will come, but together we can end it." Elias stood beside her, his blade still in his hand, his eyes fierce. Then let them come. Because he knew now, humanity's greatest weapon was not fire or steel, but mercy. And mercy had just changed the galaxy.